For 45 years, heartbreak has plagued Falmouth. Since 1980, the Cape Cod crown has stayed just out of reach. And last season, the Commodores took a step backward.
2024 season comes to an end on a rainy night at Spillane Field as the Gatemen close it out and defeat the Commodores.
But this summer, everything changes. A new era begins at Bowler Field with a new voice in the dugout. 2013 World Series champion Jared Saltalamacchia is here to lead the charge.
Swinging a line, right base hit into left field. That's the ball game. The Red Sox have rallied to win game 2. They've won it. The Sox have won it 6-5. Jared Saltalamacchia with a walk-off base hit.
New leadership, new hunger, and one mission. Bring Cape Cod glory back to Falmouth. So wherever you are, sit down and get ready. The doors are on the air. This is Falmouth Commodores Baseball, and it starts right now.
On a Saturday night, we say hello from McKeon Park in Hyannis, Massachusetts, where the Harbor Hawks are getting ready to host a Falmouth Commodores team that's hitting its best mark of the season so far through 11 games. And here to open the door before this one, I'm Ryan Martin alongside Andrew Delapiana and Ben Haller. Ben, we'll start with you. Going back to just last night, a 5-3 win for the Commodores, due in no small part to the season-low 2 pitchers used.
Well, the rotation's getting changed up a little bit. To be expected a few weeks into a summer season like this. We saw the first relief appearance at TJ Coates. He gave Falmouth 5 innings of relief. It was awesome. Every pitch was working for him. Very efficient in the first couple innings of work, too.
Coates was awesome. Grayson Saunier had a great start for his third of the summer against the defending champion Harwich Mariners. And Andrew, it really showed how the bats in this team were all back, winning consecutive games for the first time in 2025.
Yeah, you win one last night, win one night before, one more. That's called a winning streak, my friends. And like you said, they're hitting their stride right now. 8 runs for, 2 runs allowed in the last 2 games, and you can really credit that to the pitching like TJ Coates and Grayson Saunier, guys who are really setting the tone early in games and also scoring a lot of runs earlier in contests as well.
That run support, that pitching will be so crucial, Ben, against the Hyannis team that's already 1-0 against the Commodores so far this year. And now at McKeon Park, this is a ballpark in which Falmouth hasn't won in a couple years.
Yeah, this is a team for a division that's been really weak in the West Division early on. Hyannis is not in that conversation. They're the first place, 7 wins already for them. I think this is a game where, you play a lot of games against the Harbor Hawks. A lot of the 5 games are early in the year before the All-Star break. These are important games if you want to compete for a regular season division title in that 1 seed.
Important games, an important spot where Falmouth has not won since 2023. First pitch between the Harbor Hawks and the Commodores right here from McKeon Park. Coming up next on Doors Radio and Cape League TV.
A foggy night for Cape Cod League baseball, but we're playing anyway. The Falmouth Commodores have made the trip to Hyannis to play the Hyannis Harbor Hawks. Ben Haller alongside Andrew Delapiana for a matchup where Falmouth trying to get that first winning streak of the season. They're coming off a couple of wins, but they do so against one of the best teams in the league, and definitely the best team in the West Division.
Not only the best team in the West, one of the best in the league, as you mentioned, but the offensive numbers for the Harbor Hawks in these first couple of games have been absolutely phenomenal. Most runs, hits, extra base hits, RBIs, you name it, they probably lead in that offensive category. And again, this is a team that we saw back on Tuesday Wednesday, where a lot of that production is no longer here with Team USA. You think about a guy like Miles Bailey, who's no longer here, guys who were really good in their first couple of games here. The Harbor Hawks trying to find a new identity now with some new players in the lineup.
7-3-1 is the Harbor Hawks record. The Falmouth Commodores are just one game away from 500 after a 3-6 start. They now sit at 5-6 after beating a pretty competent Harwich Mariners team just last night. As we have a big event coming up on Monday at Citi Field. Ryan Martin standing by with Caden Eschman with more about it.
Thanks so much, Ben. You're exactly right. As the opening the door continues on, we're joined by Falmouth Commodores starting pitcher Caden Eschman. Caden, you and Mike New both selected to play in the first exhibition game on Monday between the Cape Cod Baseball League and the MLB Draft League. It's an exciting day. How'd you get that honor, and how'd you kind of hear about it in your selection?
Yeah, I mean, I was exploring Boston on Sunday, on our off day, Monday. Salty calls me and says, "Congratulations, you're the first guy that has started to actually be able to participate in that for us." He said it was really cool. He just said, "You've accomplished so much while you're here," but other than that, just hard work, I guess.
Yeah, so it's yourself, Mike New, the Commodores center fielder, and 23 other draft-eligible players for the Commodores. And for you, this is kind of an all-star game. And someone, as you think about the MLB draft that's coming up, you might not be in town anymore for the Cape Cod Baseball League all-star game. So what does it mean that you'll have this chance to prove something in front of Major League Scouts and good competition while you're still on Cape Cod?
I think it's cool. I think it's like a spotlighted event. So like I can just put all the hard work that I put in to get here just like on display for a lot of the scouts. Obviously, since I won't actually be at the the All-Star game for us, but I just think it'll be a cool experience, especially being at the Mets field, the actual field. So I think it'll be pretty cool to be with a lot of guys that have the same dream as me.
The game we played Monday at 4 p.m. at Citi Field, and it's against the Major League Baseball Draft League, which has a catcher that you know pretty well from your high school days.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, Boston Smith, he plays for the Draft League. He's my high school catcher, so it's pretty cool just to see the level that we've come from, being at Vandalia to being here and being on a spotlight. I think it's pretty cool.
You'll see Mike New, Caden Eschman, and Boston Smith. Interesting to see if we see an Eschman versus Smith battle. This is Caden Eschman, Falmouth Commodores starting pitcher, and one of two Commodores selected to the Cape League versus MLB Draft All-Star game on Monday. Ben?
Good stuff, Ryan. First pitch coming up in just a few minutes between the Harbor Hawks and the Commodores. This is meeting number 2 between these two on the year, and it was just earlier this week where the Harbor Hawks got the win back at Gov Fuller Field. But matchup 2 is coming up in a little bit. First matchup here at McKeon Park. We'll head to a quick break as we count down the first pitch. Get your starting lineups, the defensive alignment after that on Cape League TV. Commodores and Harbor Hawks to get set for first pitch in just a little bit. Start number 3 on the year for Matt Saucer in the Falmouth Commodores uniform. Rising junior from Bloomington, Illinois, will get his first start against a Harbor Hawk team that has shown a lot of offense. I think Falmouth saw that a decent amount on Tuesday as well.
Yeah, and it won't pop up too much on the scoreboard. You only see the 5 run, you think, not too bad, but the fact was allowing 2 runs in the first inning really set the tone in this one. Falmouth being on the other side of that last night where they get in front early and then put some pressure on the opposing team. Hyannis has done a good job of that this season where they get runs off early, they put pressure on defense, and they really make you work and come back in these games.
And that was a game, too. It was a 5-2 game where it felt like the first few innings, that comeback was kind of insurmountable. But then they had a lot of opportunities, the Commodores did. Innings 8 and 9, a couple of big strikeouts in the bottom of the 9th inning where Falmouth Commodores had the game-tying run up to the plate. The Harbor Hawks bullpen did their job. We talked a little bit about Saucer. We'll take a look at Evan Blanco, the rising junior in the transfer portal right now. After spending a couple seasons at Virginia, he is facing a Falmouth offense that's starting to figure it out, specifically situations with runners in scoring position and runners on base.
2 nights ago, we were looking at a team that was 10 for 82 with runners in scoring position, only about 15, 16 RBIs with those spots. And the only team worse was Katuitt, who's sitting at the bottom of the barrel right now in the West Division. It's really just about getting chances and then capitalizing on those chances. We've seen the last 2 nights when runners are in scoring position, especially a guy like Ken Schmidt, to really get that kind of weight off his bat, especially with the bases loaded. What he's seen in the last couple of games, got to be a huge sigh of relief for him.
Well, despite the struggles at the beginning of the year for Falmouth, this is actually a meeting between the first and a team that's tied for second in the Cape Cod League West Division. Falmouth tied with Wareham at 5 and 6. Of course, Gateman have that tiebreaker right now, but it's a pretty sizable lead for the Harbor Hawks at 7-3-1. As the Hyannis Harbor Hawks in their white uniforms with blue pinstripes and that orange new H logo in the top left corner with orange numbers, top right corner rather, orange numbers in the bottom left number. As they take the field, we'll get you the defensive alignment for the Harbor Hawks. Matt Miura in left field along with Aiden Federico, Adrian Williamson and right. Jackson Willits takes third base alongside Charlie Bates at short, with Jeff Lucci getting his first start at second and Gabe Camacho at first base. And the battery duo Brady Briggs will receive the lefty Evan Blanco. It feels like this Falmouth team has faced a ton of lefties recently.
And it's been interesting too. They've been a little bit better with lefties too. Not even just a little bit, but a lot better. 255 so far against left-handed pitching compared to just 183 against right-handers. And we even see what happened a couple nights ago in Bourne when they went against a left-hander in Derek Smith in those middle innings. They really capitalized on him, and hopefully doing the same today against one of the better arms in the ACC.
Blanco does have 1 win on the season. He sits at a 1-0 record, making his 3rd start of the year. He's got a total of 9 innings and given up just 2 earned runs in those 9 innings. That'll make it a perfect 2 ERA. The Falmouth Commodores will bat first with those black uniforms and the maroon Falmouth across the chest and numbers at the bottom right corner. We'll get you the starting lineup for the Commodores. Antonio Morales, the mainstay in that leadoff spot, playing right. Adrian Lopez bats second to play short. Mike Canoe getting a break from the field. He'll still hit third as the designated hitter. Kent Schmidt bats cleanup at first base, followed by Carl Schmidt at third, and Bear Harrison getting another start behind the plate. Ben Royal gets his first start in a while at second base. Chris Newstrom in center, and Justin Osterhaus, the left fielder, rounds out the Commodores lineup. Umpires for today's game, it's Joe Graving behind the plate with Jake Brichta at first and Jeffrey Merzel at third base. First pitch temperature comes in at 72 degrees. It is quite cloudy though, feels like of 71, not below it. Not a ton of wind. We talked to the Hyannis broadcasters before this game, and they kind of mentioned you don't see a whole lot of home runs in this ballpark unless the wind is blowing out. The wind is blowing out slightly today. It's not much, you can tell by that American flag in a right center field. Antonio Morales steps to the left-handed batter's box to get things started. Evan Blanco fires in the first pitch at 6:06 p.m. It's a breaking ball inside for ball 1. So first pitch comes about 6 minutes late.
And those dimensions a little bit similar to Orleans in a sense, down the line, just about 320 either side.
Morales gets started with a 1-0 count. Now he's going to ground one to the right side. On the run is Luigi. He'll pick it up, throw over to first for the first out of this ball game. Luigi, in his first play of this summer, will get a grounder right to him. And he'll make the easy play. Blanco's had an interesting first 2 years at Virginia. He was a superstar that freshman year, all-ACC third-team member as just a freshman. He was outstanding. It was a Virginia team that made it all the way to the College World Series, and he was a big part, kind of that long reliever they relied on. Pitched a lot in postseason play, but last year, tried to put him in a new role, try to get him some starts, and he struggled a little bit. ERA sat at about 6.23 once the year ended. Adrian Lopez, the Falmouth shortstop, takes the first pitch off the plate.
And Blanco, very local guy too, played his high school ball at Austin Prep in North Reading, also a Woburn, Mass native, so not too far from home this summer.
1-0 pitch, skied high down the first base line. It's the first baseman Camacho, who will go all the way towards the Falmouth dugout, then make the grab towards first base for the second out. So 2 quick outs here for Blanco. Blanco, a local guy, new, a little far away, but definitely not as far as you could get. The rising senior from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and transfer portal member will be the last hope at the top of the first for Falmouth. 2 outs, nobody on base. First pitch to him, fastball off the plate for ball 1. It is a pretty foggy night too, 88 miles an hour on the fastball. Cleared up a little bit, but when we first got here, it's tough to see those trees in left to right field. The whole skyline is pretty much just trees here at McKeon Park. Even 1-1 count on the Commodores' designated hitter. It's his first start of the season as the DH. Most of his starts at center field so far this season. He swings through a breaking ball, but that just kind of shows you, it's very common for a lot of these best hitters to get some breaks, maybe once a week here in Summer League, but Saltamacchia really wanted him in the lineup still. And he swings through the 1-2 breaking ball. 1-2-3 inning for Evan Blanco, and he did it efficiently. A ground out, a pop-up, and a strikeout. We'll get our first look at the Hyannis bats at the bottom of the first on Cape League TV.
On behalf of the Cape Cod Baseball League, we would like to thank the following league partners for their continued support: 99 Restaurants, Badger Sports, the Baldwin Group, Bluebird Dennisport, Bridgewater State University, Cape Destinations, and of course, thank you to Major League Baseball for over 50 years of support.
Nothing going on the top of the first for the Commodores. We will get our first look at Matt Saucer making his third start of the season and the Harbor Hawks lineup. Saucer, ERA that sits just below 5 in his first 2 starts, total of 7 2/3 innings. Does not have a decision on the season on his starts against Orleans, who sits towards the bottom of that East Division, but then a good and very hot Red Sox team is his most recent start.
And a YD team that is finding its groove. They've won 7 straight now. Really, their pitching is what's utilized them to this massive win streak, but also, again, with the bats as well. They also got to help out the pitching down there with the Red Sox.
Starting lineup for the Harbor Hawks looks like this. Matt Mira leads off, plays left field. Andrew Williamson in right, followed by Jackson Willits at third base. Gabe Camacho bats cleanup and plays first. Ray Velasquez, the DH, and Charlie Bates at short. Hayden Federico in center. Jay Flugie at second, and Brody Briggs is the catcher and the 9-hitter for the Harbor Hawks today. It'll be a righty-on-righty matchup to start things off in the bottom of the first inning with Matt Miura, the 263 hitting left fielder who's been kind of like Antonio Morales for Falmouth, a mainstay in the leadoff spot. And he drives one deep on the first pitch, heading towards the wall and at the track. It's Antonio Morales, the right fielder, making the play. First pitch swinging and first pitch driving, just not enough out to right.
That was almost the exact same result as last night, where on the first pitch in Orleans, he went yard. Almost the same thing back-to-back nights. That's incredible.
That's exactly the leadoff hitter mentality a lot of other players don't have unless you're kind of a consistent leadoff hitter. So one gone with nobody on base for. Now the two-hitter, Andrew Williamson. First pitch to him, 81-mile-an-hour change-up bottom. Top part of the zone for ball one. Defensive alignment for the Commodores, Justin Osterhaus, Chris Newstrom, Antonio Morales left to right in the outfield. 1-0 pitch fouled back towards the third base dugout. Clark Schmitz at third, and Adrian Lopez at short, Ben Royo at second, and Kent Schmidt at first base. And Bear Harrison gets his second straight start as the catcher. He was first yesterday. That one's hit hard into center, but not enough on it. Micah New heading towards the track will grab it, this time a little bit in front of the track. Decent contact on these first two at-bats, but nothing going for the Harbor Hawks. Matt Saucer really uses that fastball 62% of the time. Just a three-pitch mix for him. Slider 23% and curveball 15%. Good drop on that curve. 83, 85 mile an hour he will throw it at. That cutter, lower velocity too, but he can work a fastball all the way to 92 miles an hour. 2 outs, nobody on for Jackson Willits, the Oklahoma third baseman. First pitch strike, top of the zone. We have talked a little bit about it. Willits kind of feels like a lot of the attention he's getting, maybe a little bit because of his younger brother as the MLB draft comes up. Called strike at the knees on a cutter. His brother Eli Willits saw him yesterday, projected to be the 5th pick, but I have seen him, anywhere in the top 3 picks. And I think you mentioned it. Changeup ends up low. That would be the youngest first overall pick in MLB history, and it feels like kind of stretch at this point to say he might go number 1, but will probably be that top 5. Of course, that is Jackson's brother. Jackson at the plate, fouls one off, going to be a junior. Willits family from Fort Cobb, Oklahoma, obviously hometown because their dad, the occupation, is the associate head coach for the Sooners. Willits started 50 games a season ago and made a pretty big jump from his freshman to sophomore season. At least in contact numbers, the home runs kind of did the opposite though. Slow grounder back up the middle at a tough spot. Adrian Lopez on right at second base. He'll throw to first and get him in time. Got a range for Falmouth shortstop Lopez to sit Hyannis down 1-2-3 at the bottom of the first inning. That first inning did not see a base runner. No scores we had to the second on Cape League TV.
Authentic Cape Cod dining is right down the road at Jim's Clam Shack. Open seasonally for over 50 years, Jim's Clam Shack features oceanfront views with all of the lobster, shrimp, burgers, and clams you could ask for. Stop by Jim's Clam Shack, located at 227 Quinton Avenue right here in Falmouth, to hit your next meal out of the park. That's Jim's Clam Shack at 227 Quinton Avenue, Falmouth.
Carl Schmidt, utility player from the University of California, and you're listening to Commodores Baseball on Cape League TV.
It was a quick top of the first inning for Evan Blanco, so we will see the middle third of this Falmouth lineup as we get to the top of the second inning. And it's going to be Kent Schmidt to lead things off, the Georgia Tech first baseman, heading into his junior year, just 1 year away from being draft eligible. Did not get the start yesterday. He's kind of been a consistent starter for Falmouth, but got a day off yesterday as Falmouth wanted to get all three catchers into the game. They let Bear Harrison, who's catching today, play first base, with David McCann catching and Mark Quattrani as the DH. McCann and Quattrani are both out today, with Harrison. You'll see him in this inning batting sixth as the catcher. The first pitch to catch Schmidt's changeup off the plate for ball one. Lefty on lefty matchup is a Falmouth team that's got a couple of lefties towards the top of this lineup. You saw it with Morales to start things off. Now the cleanup hitter, Schmidt. Lines and fires. Schmidt hits one deep into right center. Federico Williamson both going at it. And just in front of the track, it's Hayden Federico who pulls it in for the first out of the inning. And it really does feel like balls are not flying here today.
It's just kind of settling down where it looks good off the bat.
Couldn't win at the end. A one breaking ball in the dirt, and first base umpire says he didn't go on the appeal.
And that's where Schmidt is most successful, right? Those long, tedious at-bats where earlier in the season he was going down in 4 or 5 pitches, and it's just not his game.
Winds and fires the 1-1, fouled into the ground, and then again off of Schmidt's back and the backswing. So he's down into a 1-2 hole with Bear Harrison on deck. Schmidt, still one of the only 2 batters on this Falmouth team hitting over 300 out of all qualified batters. Got that batting average right at 303 and a 711 OPS. 1-2, bounces the dirt again. Couple of pitches low, that'll even the count up at 2-2. Blanco used in different roles in Virginia last year, but more as a starter than a relief pitcher. 2-2 right at the bottom part of the zone, just missed it. Now the count's run full. 79 mile an hour on the changeup. And we do have our first payoff pitch coming to these Falmouth hitters with 1 out and nobody on base at the top of the second. It's grounded towards the left side, right at the shortstop. Charlie Bates will shuffle a couple of times and throw on to first for out number 2.
And it was interesting, also being a Mass guy myself, hearing the conversations of Blanco coming out of high school. There was a lot of people that said he firmly belonged in the SEC. Was the number 2 player coming out of the state, the number 1.
Harrison, though, at least the power numbers, has been the most successful of the 3 with 2 home runs and 8 driven in on the year. 2 back into the net, stay alive with a 1-2 count. But yesterday, getting that start at first base, he did have an RBI single. He went 1 for 4. It was a Falmouth offense that scored a run on back-to-back-to-back singles, all with 2 outs in the second inning yesterday. This one's grounded through the left side. On the run, in the gap between Willits and Bates. That'll get all the way to left. Cruising into first is Harrison, thrown back in by Miura. And a first base hit for either team, first base runner for either team, as a 2-out single from Bear Harrison. We're just talking about 2-out hitting.
That ball was so far away from him in the zone. He had to get down to one knee to slap it through the 6-5 hole. Surprised he even made really good contact on that.
And again, it's something we've talked about a lot as 2 outs. Ben Royal steps up to the plate with the runner on first. Even through the Falmouth struggles, it feels like they have been putting together those really good at-bats. We talked about it with Carl Schmidt, but just defensive swings have really paid off for this Falmouth team. Royo goes golfing on a breaking ball low, goes down 0-1.
It's not like the offense hasn't been there all season long. They're getting chances with runners in scoring position. It's just the difference of the wins and the losses have been if you've driven them in or if you haven't.
Royo still trying to settle in on the summer, just 1 for his first 17 at-bats, and he chases fastball outside this time, so he's down 0-2. Harrison doesn't run extremely well, so probably not a threat to steal second at all. Royo, no power numbers for him either. No home runs, no driven in, just a single for him. Change up low. Ball 1.
This feels like Jared Saltamacchio just kind of plugging him in the lineup to get some sort of confidence in. He hasn't been in a couple of games and really is just looking for that spark to kind of turn his summer around.
Feels like that middle infield, center field, kind of like a three positions where there's a rotation where you see Chris Newstrom's getting a lot of the starts recently. At short stump, he's in center today. That one's grounded to the left side, on his way to the right. Bates has to throw across his body, not in time. Charlie Bates with a nice effort, but he could not get the speedy Ben Arroyo, and there's 2 on for Falmouth.
And there's the sigh of relief he's looking for. Doesn't have to be a great base hit, just have to come off the end of the bat, more so a jam shot, if you will, where it's a really tough play to the right side for Bates. Off balance, and Arroyo with a good amount of speed down the first base line to get that infield single.
So now Falmouth's got one at scoring position, and we talked about the second inning yesterday. Back-to-back-to-back base hits, all with 2 outs. Now back-to-back base hits with 2 outs in this second inning. We'll see if Chris Newstrom can finish the job. He's hitting below the Mendoza line and qualified AB so far this year. Does have 1 RBI, though. Harrison at second, and Arroyo at first now. And what a time for some pitch comm issues for Blanco before he steps back on the mound out of the stretch. Lefty on a righty matchup for the Tennessee Volunteer, Chris Newstrom. First pitch slider just inside for ball 1 to Newstrom. He had a base hit yesterday as well, 1 for 3, reached a couple of times with a walk and scored a run. And Falmouth's 3-1 win over Harwich last night. Back at the Gov. 1-0 pitch is called, strike at the knees. It was dropped behind the plate by Brody Briggs, but home plate umpire is still going to call that a strike. Joe Graving.
That could be tough for umps to make that call because the frame, of course, is not there. You drop the baseball, so you're not entirely sure where that pitch actually was located.
And a lot of these battery duos are catchers working with new pitchers and vice versa, so you're seeing a little bit more of that even on pitches in the zone. The 1-1 pitch this time is low. Back pick to first, and in standing is Arroyo. It's an all Aggie base path right now for the Commodores with Harrison and Arroyo.
And everybody in the SEC in a black jersey on the diamond right now.
Exactly. And this was the national championship 2 years ago.
There
Actually,
you go.
not 2 years. Last summer,
Yeah,
I should say.
I got you.
Now, Newstrom was not at Tennessee at the time. One's fouled back to the backstop. And Bear Harrison, in the same vein, was not at Texas A&M. All 2s on the scoreboard. 2-2 count with 2 outs. Still no score at the top of the second. Newstrom would love to collect RBI number 2, potentially more on this season. Consistent part of that bottom of the lineup for Falmouth this year. A payoff. 2-2 rather. Just fouled off down the first base line. Newstrom staying alive. Tried to come back with a fastball inside at 88. Blanco did. OPS just at 423 as well for Newstrom. Just hasn't really got on base quite the level he'd want to so far. Blanco set to the belt, now fires another 2-2, and this time it's in the dirt for ball 3, so we will have a payoff coming. Go ahead run will be the first run of the game on second base. Hyannis went down in order in the bottom of the first. Now Falmouth threatening bottom 2, top 2. Tries a payoff again. This one's hit high in the air to center. Federico sizing it up at the wall. He's looking up. It'll have it in front of the wall for the 3rd out. Chris Newstrom gave it a ride with a couple runners on and a couple of 2-out singles, but nothing across for the Commodores at top 2. Harbor Hawks coming to bat again at the bottom of the second on Cape League TV.
For the Cape Cod Baseball League, we would like to thank the following league partners for their continued support: Cape Space, Cape Cod 5, Cisco Brewers, Cape Cod Healthcare, Hampton Inn, Franklin Sports, Highline Cruises, Jersey Mike's, and of course, thank you to Major League Baseball for over 50 years of support.
that top of the second. Now Matt Saucer will see the middle third of the Hyannis lineup. 4, 5, 6 for the Harbor Hawks. Camacho, Velasquez, and Charlie Bates. A couple of flyouts and a ground out was the bottom of the first inning for the righty Saucer. And a couple of hard hit flyouts, but eventually nobody got on base. It's going to be led off by Camacho, Big West first team member a season ago. His first pitch is a fastball that comes in above the zone for ball 1, playing for UC San Diego. It's a UC San Diego team that did not make the conference tournament, the Big West tournament. He hits one sky high behind the plate. Bear Harrison giving it a chance. It's out of play into the scout seating. So Harrison will collect a new ball. That'll even the count at 1-1 for Camacho. And a couple of kids running to get that ball in the scout area.
That was a fight for your life.
Pretty good fight. Camacho has been at 2 different schools in his first 2 seasons. Started in the West Coast Conference for Pacific, where he made the all-freshman team for WCC, and he hits one hard into center. Newstrom going to his right, in front of the wall, has it again for the first out. I'll tell you what, there might be a pitch, a hit or two where I just get fooled on these deep flyouts. It's loud contact too. It's the bottom of the second. We've seen a few of them, but that was no problem for Newstrom. Didn't really have to move that much either.
I feel like all 3 F8s in our book so far have been the exact same play, where it looks good off the bat, outfielder goes back a couple steps, and then makes it look relatively easy, and you say, how did that stay in?
So one right, that one's going back again, but playable for the right fielder, Antonio Morales. Now we are in the usual visiting spot here in Cape League where we are on the ground, so we can't really see exactly where the warning track starts. I'm just guessing when I'm saying a lot of these feel like they're going to the warning track.
And it's not like these outfielders are playing any deeper than normal depth.
No.
Should be about middle depth of the outfield and a couple steps back each time.
But an extremely similar start to the second as we saw in the first. F9, F8 to start the top of the, or bottom of the first. Now it's F8, F9 to start the bottom of the second. So 2 quick outs with nobody on base for Charlie Bates, the shortstop. Bates, qualified hitter, call it in number of at-bats, hitting 250, 562 OPS. He's still looking for his first long ball and just has 1 RBI on the year. And the second pitch comes with a changeup, and the top half outer part of the plate makes it 0-2. Saucer still looking for his first strikeout of the game, and Blanco only has 1 on the Harbor Hawks side. Fouls the 0-2 back behind the concession stand at announcer's booth. Timmy the Voice Elstrom that's who they named the announcer's booth after behind home plate. A wide and fire the 0-2 again. Change up, ball off the plate. First ball of this count. Elstrom was the voice of the Harbor Hawks for a very long time.
Stop.
Fortunately passed back in 2021 at the age of 69. Fires another 1-2 pitch. That one's high.
He was involved with this organization since the 70s, back when they were the Mets.
Yeah. That was one of our trivia questions at a home game recently, was back on Tuesday when the Commodores played the Harbor Hawks. It was their old name, and it was the Mets. Fires a 2-2 fastball high, pumped it in at 92 miles an hour, the fastest pitch we've seen from Saucer through the first couple of innings. But still no score. With 2 outs and a full count. Nobody on base, bottom 2. Righty on lefty matchup. Saucer's trying to put Bates away. Out of the windup. Fires it. Swung on and missed into the mitt of Bear Harrison. Foul tip strikeout 91 mile an hour for Matt Saucer's first K of this baseball game. 6 up, 6 down for the Harbor Hawk offense. We go to the third with no score on Cape League TV.
Whether you own a car, home, business, or investment property, it's critical you keep it secure and protected. Since 1989, our friends at Northeast Insurance Solutions have been the trusted insurance agency to serve the Commonwealth. Visit them on the web at insurewithnortheast.com or at their offices, 100 Ledgewood Place in Rockland.
I'm Bear Harrison, catcher from Texas A&M College, and you're listening to Commodores Baseball on Cape League TV.
Couple of base hits in that top of the second inning for the Falmouth Commodores, but nothing across the plate. So we have no scores. We've reached 3 here at McKeon Park. 9-1-2 with the Falmouth lineup to start things off in the top of the third inning on Evan Blanco. Blanco trying to complete his third inning and has 2 starts, total of 9 innings for him. A 4-inning start and a 5-inning start. That seems to be pretty standard for some of the better pitchers to start this year. If you have a good start, it won't go more than 4 or 5 innings due to pitch count limits. First pitch to Justin Osterhaus is a bit actually on the plate. They call it a strike 1 on that slider on the outer part. Osterhaus almost at that 300 batting average. He's at 294, and this one's grounded right at the second base. Bellucci just got it without a problem. I'll throw on a first for out number 1. We'll flip the lineup card over, and Antonio Morales grounded out to second his first time up. He's got a chance with 1 out and nobody on base. Maryland Terrapin. This is a lefty, so his numbers against lefties have been great. Especially in the leadoff spot, you're seeing a starter more than you're seeing a reliever. Compared to guys back in the lineup, first pitch was a slider. 41 starts for him, and then 41 starts for him in the first 2 years. Changeup, foul down the first base line with a 2-1 pitch, even it up to 2-2.
I think he's immediately made his case that he belongs either in the outfield or at second base for the Terps right away in the spring.
And that's a nice thing. You could really play him anywhere. You can play at second base position. You can play really any position in the outfield. And put him anywhere in the lineup like we talked about, hitting ninth, leading off now and being very effective in that leadoff spot. 2-2, chased a fastball high, down on strikes. That's only the second strikeout of the game for Evan Blanco. But all 3 frames for him so far. He has put the first 2 down in order. Was a 1-2-3 of the first, but back-to-back singles with 2 outs in the second. We'll see if Adrian Lopez could try to start that same trend with 2 outs and clear bases. Still looking for the first run of this ball game. Pitch slider just inside for ball 1 now to Lopez. Somebody who's had a very good eye. Hasn't really struck out a ton despite that 3 for 15 start to the year for him. In just what's a total of 5 starts now. And one of those 5 getting cut short on the first plate appearance. 1-0 tipped behind the mitt, out of the middle, but doesn't matter. It's strike 1. Brody Briggs behind the plate. Even 1-1 count. Blanco talked about being a local guy, and his 14 appearances last year, 8 of them were for starts, and there wasn't a consistent part of the week where he started. He started some midweeks, he started some Sundays, even got a couple Saturday starts for Virginia, and he had high expectations again coming into the year because of being that third-team All-ACC member his freshman year, but only reached that 5 innings point in 2 of those 8 starts, and never pitched more than 5 innings. And again, couldn't get that length as a starter. 1-2, foul, or 1-1 rather, fouled off his own bat. Lopez did. Put him down, and it'll count 1-2.
Kind of symbolized Virginia's season as a whole, where different players had really high expectations. Blanco was a preseason second-team All-American, not making the tournament as well as being a top 5 team in the preseason. And really just kind of summarized it all into 1.
1-2 pitch, fouled off down the first right field line. Williamson's got a chance on it, sprinting towards the fence, and it'll drop right in front of that foul ball fence to keep Lopez alive with a 1-2. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's got to be a frustrating development from all the way back in February where the preseason top 25 team just missed the tournament as one of the first 4 teams out, and you lose your coach to Mississippi State, and a legendary coach that is in Brian O'Connor, who won you a couple of national championships. Lopez standing back in for the 1-2. 2 outs, nobody on. Grounded hard on 1 hop at Willits. Pick it up and fire across the diamond for out number 3. Blanco's second 1-2-3 inning of this ball game will put the Falmouth Commodores still scoreless. 0-0 game as we head to the bottom of the third on Cape League TV.
On behalf of the Cape Cod Baseball League, we would like to thank the following league partners for their continued support: Cape Space, Cape Cod 5, Cisco Brewers, Cape Cod Healthcare, Hampton Inn, Franklin Sports, Highline Cruises, Jersey Mike's, and of course, thank you to Major League Baseball for over 50 years of support.
Scoreless ties, we head to the bottom of the third. As first 6 batters for Hyannis have all gone down in order, 7, 8, 9 in the lineup. Matt Saucer makes his way back out to the mound, and already it is the best 2-inning start. This is the first time Saucer has put the first 6 down in order this season, now in his 3rd start.
And been extremely efficient so far as well. 21 pitches, 15 strikes. Hasn't missed in too many spots so far.
Now the 7-hitter Hayden Federico is slowly making his way to the left-handed batter's box to start things out in this 3rd inning. Federico, the 222 hitter, decent number of at-bats so far this year at a 741 OPS. Already got a lot of action. We kind of talked about it in center field today on the defensive side of things. And a 91-mile-an-hour fastball just called a strike on the outer part of the plate for strike 1. The Ole Miss Rebel Federico is going to head into his sophomore season for Ole Miss. A slow chopper to the first base line. Schmidt brings over to his right, but Saucer will cover first base at a flip to finish off Federico for the first out.
But to finish that point you were making about Federico, a guy who really made an impact right away. All SEC freshman team. Really a heartbreaking ending to Ole Miss's season as well. Very unexpected.
Now Jeff Lugie, the Duke Blue Devil, sees his first plate appearance of his 2025 Cape Cod League season. Already a couple of putouts for him on the defensive side of things. The righty on lefty matchup. They'll look at a fastball. Comes in the inner part of the plate for ball 1. Saucer cut us contrary to Blanco, was used mostly as a starter for Central Florida a season ago. 9 of his 10 appearances were 4 starts. 14 weeks in the season as he fires a fastball inside. He got starts in 9 of them. But pretty similarly to Blanco, we're in different spots. Midweek starts, Sunday starts. Used as an opener at some times. This one's grounded hard, fouled on the first baseline for the first strike of the AB. Ended up with an ERA sitting around 4.5. 31 strikeouts to just 12 walks. That was a pretty good number, but the most impressive number in my eyes for his last school season, 231 batting average against a very talented Big 12 schedule, making that transition from the American to the Big 12 for UCF. This ball up and out again.
And a conference that added some really good schools as well. Think about Arizona State, making the NCAA tournament one of those new additions.
And another fastball on the 3-1 pitch that's off the plate for ball 4. That's the first base runner of the game for the Harbor Hawks, and Jeff Lugie, 6-pitch walk. Let's check that 5-pitch walk. As Brody Briggs, the 9-hitter, will come up with the runner on first base in 1 out.
Speaking of Arizona State.
Yeah. Arizona State, the newest member coming along with Arizona and Utah. Colorado, of course, joined too, but they do not sport a baseball program. For the first time, Saucer has to work out of the stretch, and before he comes home, fires a fastball over to first base to check on Lugie. He's in there safely. Briggs hitting in the 9-hole because he has struggled to start the year. Just 1 for 18. Does have an RBI on a sac fly earlier this year. but part of a rotation with the catchers, similarly to Falmouth in terms of playing time. Cutter in the dirt for ball 1. Briggs will be a junior. He comes from Tulsa, Oklahoma. For redshirt, he gets freshman season, got 32 starts last year. Takes the fastball, fouls it off down the third base line, a little late on it. Talk about that rotation of catchers here for the Harbor Hawks. It was kind of the same way at Arizona State a season ago. It was kind of a platoon guy, lefty hitter, so he got a lot of starts against righties, so it gave him a little bit more than half on the year. But he only got 1 start when Arizona State went and played in the Los Angeles Regional. Another throw over to first. Luigi not far off the first base bat. So a 1-1 count with 1 out and a runner on first base. No score at the bottom of the third here at McKeon Park. At the belt, fires home the 1-1. Grounded to the right side of the infield on a dive, stopped by Royo. That just sneaks past him. On his horse all the way to third as that dribbles into right is Luigi. And that is the first base hit for the Harbor Hawks today. So after the first 7 are retired for Hyannis, they go walk and single with 1 out for Luigi and Briggs. Now you flip the lineup card over to Matt Miura. On the corners with just 1 out in the bottom of the third.
And Royo doing just about everything he can. Had to go quickly for a ball that was pretty much out of his range to his left. Did give a dive in the outfield, just sneaks underneath him though.
So now the Harbor Hawks put a runner just 90 feet away. That would be the first run of the game with less than 2 outs. Sacrifice situation, fastball upstairs for ball 1 now to Miura. Senior from Honolulu, Hawaii. Member of All Big West second team a season ago. That one slow grounder just bounces foul. Miura didn't know if that was going to be fair or foul. Kind of an awkward play off the bat, but that'll even the count at 1-1.
And this is a Hyannis team that really capitalizes when they have chances like this. They got the most RBIs in the league right now, and it's by a whole lot as well. Next team behind him is YD at around 10 or 9 behind him.
Pretty telling too, because you talked about it at the beginning of the broadcast. You look at individual stats for this Harbor Hawk team, nothing jumps off the page.
They don't blow the out of the water.
But they score a lot of runs. Yeah. Very good situational baseball team. This one grounded right back up the middle. Couple infielders dive. It's Lopez who picks it up. Throw to first, not in time. Run would have scored anyway, but this is an infield single, and that was a tough play to read almost symmetrically. Lopez and Royo went diving for it just past the second base bag. Lopez picked it up, but the throw was just a bit late. Briggs goes first to second. An RBI single here for the leadoff hitter, Matt Miura, as Luigi comes around to score.
Yeah, you talk about good situational hitting. How about making both infielders dive at a ball right up the middle? It's a really tough play for either one of them to make.
Another play, too, that was just a few inches, maybe a foot away from the glove of Matt Saucer at the mound, or on the mound. That tells you how middle that was hit. Now it's the two-hitter Andrew Williamson with runners on first and second. One in this bottom of the third inning at a 1-0 Harbor Hawk lead. Williamson took the first pitch low for ball 1. He's 0 for 1 today with the fly out to center. Saucer looks back to second to try to keep Briggs in check, but he was on the bag and there were no Commodores anywhere near the bag, and to make a late adjustment to throw it to Lopez in his shortstop position.
Carl Schmidt, the third baseman, also with his toes in on the grass, potentially protecting a bunt.
Third base is playing in, but Ken Schmidt at first is playing normal depth. Cutter cut on and missed for a strike. One of the count, make it 1-1. More of that situational hitting like you talked about. Here you can get a runner over with just 1 out, fastball up and out. And I think those have been at some of the roots of some of these at-bats. Is Saucer starting to lose command of the fastball a little bit, so he's trying to throw that breaking ball in. It's just gotten hit a couple of times this inning. Williamson heading into his junior season. Big swing and a miss on a fastball, and of course, this is a matchup off the plate of two teammates last season down in Orlando at Central Florida. Williamson was part of the All Big 12 honorable mention team.
I always wonder who that favors here in summer ball. Is it the pitcher who knows the hitter's tendencies or the hitter who knows the pitcher's tendencies?
That one's laced right past the glove of the shortstop Lopez. Rounding third and heading towards the plate is Briggs. That gets past the center fielder. Another runner comes around, throw to the plate is late. Two come around to score for the Harbor Hawks on an RBI. See if that's a single or double, maybe an error in the outfield as well. But it's 3-0 Hawks. And Falmouth pitching, Coach Todd Carroll's going to come out to the mound as well. The whole infield will come in here for Falmouth. Williamson cruises into second base. Briggs and Mira both come home to score with arguably maybe the most dangerous hitter in this Hyannis lineup. Jackson Willits coming to the plate.
And that pitch was just pure middle from Saucer. The one spot, of course, you just cannot miss. And Williamson was all over it.
And as of right now, that is ruled, actually not ruled anything yet. I think it's going to be ruled a double low. Newstrom in center had trouble with it. Doesn't have a ton of starts at center so far this summer. And the lefty Willett stands in. A new 3-0 lead for the Harbor Hawks and still one at scoring position, just one out in the inning. Saucer's trying to get out of it. First pitch fastball, called strike at the knees. And you think Andrew Williamson's going to take those bragging rights?
I would say so.
It is ruled a single.
Oh, that advancement
for
on
Williamson.
the throw.
Advancement on the, okay. Teammates take those bragging rights. Now we'll throw to an Oklahoma Sooner, and Willits throw a change up off the plate, even 1-1 count. Well, Saucer got the first out of the inning on a ground out to first, but ever since it's gone a walk, single, infield single, and now that single and advancement to double on the throw. There's another change up high to put Willits ahead of the count 2-1.
And that's just what these Harbor Hawks do. They get chances, and all it really takes is that walk by Luigi to create some sort of chaos, and then you get some more traffic, and eventually turns into a 3-spot right now.
First pitch change up, low into the dirt for ball 3. Now it's a hitter's count for the lefty Willits. And things just starting to go off the tracks a little bit for Saucer. He retired the first 7 of this game all in order. The next 4 have all reached base. Those are the 11 batters he's faced. Willits grounded out to short his first time up, but a 3-1 pitch is just at the knees, called for a strike to run the count full. Lefty warming up in the Falmouth bullpen right now. Looks to be one of the newer additions to this Falmouth team, Easton Barrett. And the payoffs. Laced down the right field line, bounces, fair ball. Rounding first, or rather rounding third, and scoring easily as that's picked up in right is Williamson. And cruising into second with an RBI double is Jackson Willits. Back to back to back to back base hits now for the Harbor Hawks in this third. That just won't end, and they take a 4-0 lead with just one out in the inning.
That's been a real problem for Falmouth this season is when teams get one, especially with 1 or 2 outs, it piles on and becomes 4, 5, sometimes 6 in frames, and you really can't stuff like that snowball.
And another dangerous hitter in Gabe Camacho, as Willits will just replace Williamson at second base. So again, one in scoring position with 1 out, and the first pitch is high for ball 1. And again, part of the problem these last 5 batters has been Saucer getting down on the count early, having to make a bad pitch to get it back in the count of the zone. He's just left a couple balls over the middle of the zone that his Harbor Hawks hitter have punished him for. But Willits fouls one down the first base line out of play to even the count up at 1-1. Slider off the plate for ball 2. Camacho flied out to center his first time up. That was one of those ones we talked about a lot. It was a pretty hard hit fly out to center. Saucer looks at second, now comes home with a 2-1 called strike. That's the best pitch I think we've seen from Saucer is when he's living at the bottom of the zone of that fastball right at the knees. He's ever reached. Saucer finally retires one, makes it the second out of this bottom of the third inning.
It feels like you have to get Velasquez out here as well. You really don't want to go down 5-0 this early in the ball game, especially when the offense has been pretty inconsistent.
It is Zach Johnston checked that, the lefty in the bullpen, not Easton Barrett. Wake Forest Demon Deacon. And now that is Velasquez. First pitch swinging and signaling one into left field. That'll drop in front of the left fielder Osterhaus and an easy jog on home for Willits. Make that a 5-0 lead here in the bottom of the third inning for the Harbor Hawks. All 5 have come in this frame. After this break on Cape League TV.
On behalf of the Cape Cod Baseball League, we would like to thank the following league partners for their continued support: Veolia North America, Wilson Sporting Goods, Yawkey Foundation, Netting Pros, Falmouth Publishing Company, Butler Sporting Goods, Sports Picks, Margaritaville Resort Cape Cod, Sunderland Printing, Del Mar Vacation Rentals, and of course, thank you to Major League Baseball for over 50 years of support.
Saucer faces 8 in the bottom of the third. Zach Johnson will see the last batter in this inning, and Charlie Bates with a runner on second base, or rather first base, and 2 outs. 5 in for the Harbor Hawks, all in this third inning. Johnston's making his third appearance, all in relief so far. It's just a total of an inning and a third, and the first 2 appearances. Only throws 17 pitches so far. And he struck out a couple, yet to give up a run in this summer season, and it is the 6-hitter Charlie Bates will be the first batter he faces. Ray Velasquez just chased Saucer with that RBI single. He stands on first, and the first pitch from Johnston comes home at ball 1 low. Bates struck out swinging his first time up, and that was the only strikeout victim of Falmouth starter Saucer today. 1-0 pitch fouled back into the net. First strike that Johnston has offered. Johnston, of course, in that inning and a third so far. Obviously does not have a decision. It's his second year on the Cape, played for Brewster a season ago. 1-1, beautiful slider, just comes across the inner part of the plate, called strike 2, puts him ahead. Book is still open on Matt Saucer as he's responsible for Velasquez at first base. So Johnston keeps a close eye on before delivering home. Bottom part of the zone, runner takes off, it's called a ball over the head of the shortstop Lopez on the throw from Harrison. Velasquez cruises into third base. I thought that was strike 3. I don't know how that missed the zone. And there is a late appeal down to the third base umpire. Says that Bates didn't go. Leaving 2-2 count. And now a conversation for the Falmouth dugout, and there is a warning. I think it was the pitching coach, Todd Carroll, who's the one arguing strikes and balls. So home plate umpire Joe Graven comes out and says that's your ball strike warning. And it is now a 2-2 count as Velasquez goes first to third on the stolen base and throwing here from Bear Harrison. Johnston comes home with a 2-2. That's called strike 3 on the slider across the plate. It didn't end up mattering in the end, but 5 come across in this bottom of the third for the Harbor Hawks, a third of the way through. Hyannis is in control as we head to the fourth on Cape League TV.
The 99 Restaurant and Pub is proud to be a sponsor of the Cape Cod Baseball League this summer. Visit your local 99 and try their famous colossal lobster rolls, piled high on grilled brioche and served either hot and buttered or with just the right amount of mayo and celery to go along with the fries and coleslaw. Visit your local 99 restaurant this summer today. You gotta love the Nines.
Massachusetts for Doors Radio on Cape League TV. Falmouth made a move to the bullpen at the bottom of the third. Now it's the Harbor Hawks opening up the door to the bullpen and calling on Tsubasa Tommy, making his third appearance of the summer. He'll play his baseball at Hawaii this upcoming fall. Transfer from Pima Community College. Coming all the way from Tokyo, Japan, and Andrew, he made a pretty big appearance on a big stage, Little League World Series.
Yeah, he was the starting and winning pitcher for Team Japan, who won in 2017. Had a complete game, 9 strikeouts, and it's always cool when you're watching that event as a kid saying, where do these kids and players end up going? Well, some of them end up on Cape Cod like the rest of us, I guess.
Yeah. Tommy has made 2 appearances so far, both of them in relief, and they've gone different directions. He has a couple of stats. 1 decision, he's 0-1 on the year. He does have a hold as well. It's just a total of 3 innings in his first 2 appearances. You'll see 3, 4, 5 with Micah New leading things off. New lead down by 5. Harbor Hawks up 5-0 in the top of the 4th. And the first pitch to New was a fastball inside for ball 1. Well, a couple of guys who were in the portal this season, of course. Tony, are they finding a place at Hawaii? Now, one comes back in the middle of the zone for strike 1 to New. New still yet to find his next home, transferring from Marshall, and Falmouth Commodore no longer on the active roster, but Jack Berg last night committed to Hawaii, will be playing with Tommy. 1-1 pitch, slow grounder to the shortstop. Bates on the run, a little bobble, but picks it up and throws it to first in time for the first out.
Let's also close the book on Evan Blanco, who started for Hyannis as well. Goes 3 scoreless innings, just 2 hits allowed, 2 strikeouts, and no free passes, and another solid start as he only goes 3 innings.
You might start to see that as you get later in the season, reaching towards the middle. Some starters who had very good starts but just get cut short to the innings limit.
Just 44 pitches for him today.
So very efficient in those 3 innings. Ran into some trouble in the 2nd inning where he gave up a couple of 2 out base hits. Now it's Kent Schmidt with 1 out, nobody on base. First pitch, ball inside, and you start to see what makes Tsubasa Tommy so special is he changes up that wind-up timing a decent amount too. Really waited a lot of time with that left leg in the air for the righty. Had 5 strikeouts in his first 2 appearances of the summer. 1-0 pitch, check swing, change up low, and Ken Schmidt did not go, so 2-0 count.
He does a good job, as you just mentioned. He holds that ball a little bit longer out of the glove. You can think it a little bit easier on the hitter where they can see that grip a little bit sooner, but if you change the timing up just enough, it can confuse the guy at the plate.
He'll wind and fire again, the 2-0 pitch. Schmidt hits one high into the air, deep to right. Williamson looks up, that ball's gone. Falmouth tries to chip away at the lead at Kent Schmidt's first home run of the summer. We knew he had that power, and he leaves the yard. Deep right field over the American flag. 5 of those this spring at Georgia Tech and a couple at his last game in the regionals. And all smiles for Ken Schmidt as he heads back to the Falmouth dugout. Cut the deficit to 4 now. It's a 5-1 game.
And that's the power we expected to see from him early season. He just gets a pitch right down the heart of the plate, doesn't miss.
So we talk about that being his first home run. That's RBI number 6 on the year for him. Now it's Carl Schmidt batting behind him. No relation between Ken and Carl Schmidt. Actually coming from different sides of the country. Ken Schmidt playing a Cal, or excuse me, Carl Schmidt at the plate playing a Cal. Ken Schmidt at Georgia Tech. 1-0 pitch, beautiful movement on that changeup. Called strike at the top part of the plate.
They are in the same conference now, though.
Yeah.
So they have that, yeah, in relation.
It is weird to say they play on different parts of different coasts, but in the same conference. That's what you see in the ACC nowadays. Change up, this time inside, but that same sort of movement puts Carl Schmidt ahead of the count now, 2-1. Carl Schmidt is also looking for his first home run of the summer. But typically showcased as more of that contact guy, not as much power as someone like Ken Schmidt, but he is hitting over 300 coming into the day, and the fastball whizzes past his ear for ball 3. Hitters count for him. Harborhawks leave that middle of the infield pretty open as they shade him to the left. This one's popped sky high, shallow right field. It's the second baseman Luigi calling everyone off and making the grab for the second out. That's 2 down now, 1 across in the 4th inning. In the 1st inning for Tommy. Now Bear Harrison with 2 outs and nobody on base. He has not left the yard of a home run since the 4th game of the season that came against Orleans at Eldridge Park. He had 2 of them. That's why that 207 batting average, the OPS still sitting over 700 at a decent amount of at-bats. And he does have 8 driven in. First pitch fell back into the net on a fastball Tommy offered at the top part of the zone. Harrison started that back-to-back 2-out single in the 2nd inning. When only 2 guys to even reach on Evan Blanco. Hyannis is starter today. Change up low into the dirt for ball 1. See how Tommy recovers after giving up that home run. It is the first homer he's given up in the summer. Change up just off the plate. Puts Harrison ahead 2 and 1. There's 3 innings combined in his first 2 appearances, threw a total of 53 pitches, so he can go deep into games. Harrison chases a slider up to even the count at 2-2. Producers are wild out with a 2-2 count and 2 outs. 5-1 Harbor Hawk lead, top of the 4th at McKeon Park. Falmouth is 1-2 straight. They need a pretty big comeback to try to make it a win streak. Tommy starts his windup, fires home the 2-2. Fastball just off the plate for ball 3. It's missed outside a couple of times. The payoff. Harrison, the righty, awaits it, fouls it back just over the home plate netting and out of play. Harrison was the one we were talking about who fouled off a couple of pitches at his first at-bat before singling. Ended up getting stranded at second, of course, the only run for Falmouth's coming this inning. Leg up, fires home another payoff. Hit into foul territory, heading out of play in the first base bleachers. A couple of 3-2 foul offs for Bear Harrison.
That curveball has been his go-to pitch, especially with 2 strikes. And Harrison has done a good job of adjusting just about halfway through to spoil him off.
This game was scoreless for the first 2.5 before Hyannis opened it up with 5 at the bottom of the 3rd. Falmouth with one in the inning on a solo home run from Ken Schmidt. And now another payoff called. Strike three, outer part of the plate. Beautiful changeup from Subasa Tommy to sit down the Commodores after working around a solo home run from Schmidt. 5-1 Harbor Hawks heading into the bottom of the fourth on Cape League TV. One is the Harbor Hawks lead over the Falmouth Commodores, who reached the bottom of the fourth inning. Zach Johnston will try to complete his first full inning of work against a Harbor Hawk lineup that's done a lot of damage against Falmouth starter Matt Saucer. It'll be the bottom third, though. All 9 Harbor Hawks came to the plate in that third inning, so the same part of the lineup that started off that third. And Matt Saucer got it started with a quick ground out to first to the man who's about to step up to the plate, Hayden Federico, before the Harbor Hawks put 5 on in the innings. 5-1 is that lead. Zach Johnston just recorded 1 out, and his only batter faced was Charlie Bates, got him to strike out looking. Now first pitch to Federico comes in low for ball 1. Federico with that ground out makes him 0 for 1 today. Put that batting average down to about 220 and a 741 OPS. Does have a home run on the season to go with his 4 RBIs. Grounds one towards the third base dugout. Hit hard at a ball boy. Just got out of the way of it. Even 1-1 count for the rising sophomore. Not the one home run this summer. He had 4 of them for Ole Miss in his freshman year. A couple of them coming against pretty good opponents too. He homered against Arkansas, South Carolina, and Vanderbilt. And 4th one coming against Jacksonville State earlier in the year. 1-1 changeup just outside for ball 2, and Johnston saying, my bad to Bear Harrison, missed his spot, or maybe misread the sign. 2-1 out of the stretch. He is called to strike top part of the plate. Johnston was efficient in his first at-bat. Bates getting ahead of the count, now does so. Actually, even in the count now to Federico. 1 for 4 yesterday, but got the hat trick. 3 strikeouts. Change up. Gets away from Harrison as a wild pitch. No harm, no foul with nobody on base. A big payoff pitch coming to start this inning off. Federico, part of the all-freshman team of the ACC a season ago. Was not necessarily a huge recruit. Top 100 sitting around number 177 of the country, and he watched his ball 4 go out side. First time Federico reaches base today, and the bottom third of the lineup continues to get on base against Falmouth pitching. Another man who started the rally with a walk of his own in the third inning will come up. Still looking for his first official at-bat. In all ACC matchup here with Johnston and the Duke Blue Devil. Luigi, a little bit of a rivalry there too between those two. That one grounded just over the head of the third baseman, Carl Schmidt, and into left. I am not sure the science behind that one. It was a one-hopper That ended up going over the head of Carl Schmidt at third base and getting into left. That's going to be a single for Luigi. He's 1 for 1 of the day now.
I'm not sure if that was a tomahawk chop where he just drove the ball so hard in the ground, it spun so high up.
I mean, it hit the ground.
It was one of the crazier one-hoppers I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I started to call it like it was going to be played by Carl Schmidt. I've rarely ever seen that.
You'll just look at him and he's, oh, where's that ball way over my head on a one-hopper?
He didn't have a chance on it. 2-on with nobody out. Johnston's in a bit of a jam. He throws over to second. Almost gets away from the shortstop Lopez, but able to keep it in the infield. Now the 9-hitter Brody Briggs with a couple on and nobody gone in the bottom of the 4th inning.
How about this final third of the order, really doing some damage for the Hawks.
Have reached a combined 4 times already just in the bottom of the 4th inning. Johnston offers inside. Now to Briggs. One of those base hits was a single back in the 3rd inning. And Briggs eventually came around to score on that RBI single from Andrew Williamson. 1-0 changeup slows it down for Johnston. It's cut on and missed. Way out in front is Briggs. He was count of 1-1. Briggs, the Arizona State Sun Devil. Played in the Alaskan Baseball League last summer. Just tries to square around a bunt, pulls it back, and the fastball's outside. I get 2-1. You can tell Harbor Hawks runners on the same page as well. Federico was pretty far off the second base bag. Harrison thought about throwing it down on the second. Now Johnson will throw back to second. Take a look at Federico. Federico did have 12 stolen bases for Ole Miss this spring, so there's a threat on the base paths. Not sure with nobody out and 2 on right now if that's really a possibility. 2-1 pitch, just low on a slider from Johnston. 1 of 2 Wake Forest Demon Deacons' past season on this Falmouth team. Antonio Morales in the portal. Johnston staying put, at least for the time being, at Wake Forest. We have seen some transfer portal additions as late as this week. He finds the outside corner on a fastball to round the count full. Runners on first and second, with nobody out in the inning, and a 4-run lead for the Harbor Hawks at the bottom of the 4th. Briggs trying to break it open, get that run back and even more. Payoff pitch, just fouled back to the backstop. Other scores around the league right now. The 2 Cavaliers are at home against the Bourne Braves for a battle between the bottom 2 in the West Division, and it's a 6-3 Cavaliers lead. Orleans with a 4-2 lead over Harwich as the Mariners are struggling in that East Division. That game's played at White House Field in Harwich. YD with a slight 3-2 lead over Wareham in Wareham, and the payoff pitch is low and outside. Walk, single, walk on the first 3 batters of this bottom of the 4th inning, and the bottom 3rd of the lineup. And that 7 through 9 of the lineup have reached 5 times in 6 plate appearances to round out those scores. Anglers with a 2-0 lead at home over the Whitecaps. And Todd Carroll will make his way out to the mound.
I don't think he was expecting to take too many walks to the bump this early in the game. Saucer looked really good to begin this game. Retired the first 7 he saw. It was really just that simple walk he left to Lugo. That kind of just changed the entirety of this game.
Yeah, and I think too, that's just what these Harbor Hawks hitters do. How many times we saw it so early the first week, the first 2 weeks of the season, even into earlier this week. A lot of first pitch swinging, a lot of at-bats that ended early with some contact the first few pitches. It feels like every single plate appearance for Hyannis so far today has gone at least 5 or 6 pitches.
Absolutely, no doubt.
And a couple of really nice walks worked by Federico and Briggs, the 7 to 9 hitters. Both worked full counts. Bases loaded with nobody out. That was around a Jeff Luigi single. And now the leadoff hitter, Matt Miura, has the ducks on the pond with nobody out. Watches a first pitch fastball go on the top part of the zone for strike 1. 1 pitch comes back inside. Miura, one of the older guys for this Hyannis team, going to be a senior this upcoming season. 1 for 2 today, had that infield RBI single. Just an inning ago in the third, so he's got 1 RBI in the 1 for 2 day after going 2 for 6 with a couple of ribbies yesterday. Jackson Vanesco warming up, another righty in the Falmouth bullpen today. Lefty, check that. Fastball just hit the plate in the dirt for ball 2. 2-1 pitch hit down the right field line. A long run for the right fielder Morales, and that's going to be out of play, foul. Again, Johnson's got him with a 2-2 count. All 3 batters in the inning have gone down to 2 strike counts, but Harbor Hawk hitters have won the at-bats. Sacrifice situation with the bases loaded and nobody out. 5-1 Harbor Hawks lead. Payoff called. Strike 3 on the outside corner. Beautiful pitch for Johnston. Mira doesn't agree with the call, but that's the first time he's been sat down on strikes today. Second strikeout of the game now for Johnston, and those are the only 2 outs that he's recorded so far. And a big first out to keep the runner put at third base with Andrew Williamson stepping up to the plate.
Of course, that first out is always the most crucial one. You got to start somewhere.
Still a sacrifice situation with the bases loaded and 1 gone in the bottom 4th. Swing and a miss on that same slider at the bottom part of the plate. And Williamson was early on. Like Mira, he's 1 for 2 today. Had an RBI single. Missed a second on the throw back in the 3rd inning. Slider again, cut on and missed. Same location, same pitch. And a 0-2 hole for the Harbor Hawk right fielder. Could not have a bigger time for back-to-back strikeouts than both of them come with the bases loaded. 0-2 pitch, throwaway pitch, slow into the dirt. Williamson picked up RBI number 7 on the season with that RBI single an inning ago. He's got 2 home runs. He's got a good deal of power. Into the chest of Harrison. Looks the runner Federico back to third base before picking it up and throwing it to Johnston. And he was the count back up at 2-2. Johnston trying to work out of a jam. The lefty Vanesco warming up in the bullpen. Not much going on in the Hyannis bullpen right now. 2-2 pitch, cut on and missed. Strike 3. With the bases loaded, gets a strikeout looking, and this time a strikeout swinging. And Williamson just got sat down. He's going to have a word for Jackson Willits, give him some tips. Since he was the last hope to avoid Hyannis stranding 3 when they loaded the bases and nobody out. Willits 1 for 2 today. He had himself an RBI double back in the 3rd inning. Part of that 5-run third for the Harbor Hawks. They lead 5-1 now. Johnston misses low for ball 1 to Willits. After a slow ground out to short his first time up. 3 straight multi-hit games in the NCAA tournament Willits did. This ball low. He's a 2024 All-Honorable Mention member in that Big 12. Also made the All-Tournament team, of course. Spent 1 season in the Big 12, one of the SEC, both with Oklahoma. 2-0 pitch, low and outside. Now a 3-0 spot for Johnston with the bases loaded at 2 outs. Really try to avoid walking a run home. Already walked 2 batters in the inning. Federico at Briggs. Federico stands at 3rd. Briggs stands at 1st. 3-0 pitch is green light, fouled back behind the plate. I think that was going to be strike, but Briggs fouls it off anyway. Just check that. Willits fouls it off anyway. That jump in batting average from 274 to 326 this past season for him. That one's hit sky high down the right field line. Morales coming in, Arroyo going out, and it is Antonio Morales at just last second going to his right to make the play. So Hyannis loads the bases, but Zach Johnston gets out of it to avoid any more damage, but the Hawks still lead by 4 as we head to the 5th. This is 5-1 Harbor Hawks here on Cape League TV. Very foggy evening here at McKeon Park, where the Harbor Hawks have a 5-1 lead over the Commodores, as we bring in our third member of the crew, Ryan Martin, to talk a little bit about an interesting part of this McKeon Park.
Yeah, Ben Haller, you mentioned the fog that's coming down on McKeon Park right now, still over the right field line. You can see a big osprey nest on the tallest of the light towers.
Things start to this afternoon. Once we got to McKeon Park, we were filming our pregame show as Falmouth will go game show as Falmouth will go 7, 8, 9 in the second inning of work for Subasa Tommy.
Royal.
We were filming our pregame stuff for Dan. Felt something in his hair with a lot of ospreys around.
You know the rest.
Yeah. I don't have to go into too many details about all of this. But Ben Royo steps to the plate to start things off at the top of the 5th inning. It's a 5-1 Harbor Hawk lead. Fouled one off for the first pitch, and a changeup comes up high, so it's a 1-1 count now on Ben Royo, who's 1 for 1 today with an infield single back in the second inning.
And also, don't forget Hyannis' mascot, Ozzy the Osprey.
Not Ozzy Osbourne?
No, it is not.
Texas A&M Aggie after starting his college career at Bryce. The few guys on this Falmouth team that is draft eligible. The draft coming up in July. Spent 2 years with the Owls at Bryce. Got 48 starts his freshman season, was thrown into the fire in that shortstop position. Breaking ball just outside for ball 3. So a payoff incoming. Now for Royo to start off the inning. Just 3 hits on the day for Falmouth. Royo's got 1 of them on back-to-back singles with 2 outs for him and Bear Harrison back in the second inning. And solo home run in the 4th for Ken Schmidt. And the payoff is laced foul once again down the third base line. Royo just a bit early on those couple of breaking balls.
Hey, take your time, take your time.
A lot like Ken Schmidt, who's batting cleanup. Spent a couple of times at 2 different schools, both in the same state, Georgia Southern, Georgia Tech. And he came from Georgia, now Alpharetta. Ben Royo from Corpus Christi, Texas. Both his schools were both in Texas, Rice and Texas A&M. Try the payoff again from Tommy. Hit a sky-high foul out of play, just behind home plate down the third base line. That'll bounce toward the power lines. Royo putting together a pretty nice at-bat, almost had a couple of doubles in this at-bat too. Still looking to break out a little bit. That hit in the second inning is just his second of this summer, puts him at 2 for 18 this season. No. 3-2's low. An 8-pitch walk for Ben Royo, and he will jog on down to first base. Falmouth would like a couple of innings where they can some runners on the base paths, try to get some in, chip away at this 4-run deficit with Chris Newstrom coming up to the plate.
He rightfully and deservedly so earned that walk.
Yeah.
I've never seen a pair of foul balls miss closer than those 2.
That first one definitely closer. Got some moans and
That
groans
second
from the
one maybe
fans,
was
too.
a little bit farther out. Still a half second early.
Newstrom's gotten most of his starts this year. It's short, gets a start in center field today for Falmouth. Then he'll take the first pitch low for ball 1. Tommy didn't walk a batter in that last inning, gave up the solo home run. That's the only base runner he allowed. So now a home run and a walk. The 8-hitter Newstrom's 0 for 1 with the fly out to center. At end of the second inning, it stranded a couple of runners on base. Squares around to bunt, and he pops the bunt up. Tommy lost it at first and will make the play. And the runner will stay put at first base. Actually, I don't think he lost it. A pretty tough play for Tommy. They usually don't tell pitchers to do this. On a bunt that's popped up, it was in the air. He saw it. He looked back to first to see what the runner was doing. And in a foggy night like this, to take your eye off a ball like that, still able to make the play and make sure that Royo stayed at first base.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, not only to stay at first base, I think also too if maybe he had a chance to drop it and try to turn a double play, but Newstrom was hustling down the first base line. Don't think that would have worked. That's the first out of the inning with a runner on first base. Now for Justin Osterhaus, fouls one out of play down the third base line. Got that third inning started with a ground out to second. His first time up. Jackson Vanesco still warming up in the Commodore bullpen. Not much going in the Harbor Hawk bullpen. A couple guys stretching, but nobody warming up yet. 0-1 fouled off the end of the bat for Osterhaus, sent towards the Hyannis dugout. Now puts Osterhaus down 0-2. Almost hitting 300 on the season. It's kind of been that spot where it's like, if you're a 9-hitter, kind of used it in the modern day of baseball as an extra leadoff man, and Osterhaus has that kind of effect. Start of the year hitting 7th, spent most of the time in the bottom third of the lineup, but a couple of starts, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th this year. 0-2 pitch, fastball just outside. Osterhaus had a good eye on it. They got a 1-2 count. Commodores with a 5-1 deficit in this top of the 5th inning. They are getting out hit by Hyannis 6-3 as well. Commodores have a couple of errors to go with it. 1-2 pitch. Deep to right center. It's the center fielder Federico who will go back and now take a couple of steps up to make the play. And a throw to first Royo was a little far off the first base bag. Has to sprint back, but is back in time. So after the leadoff walk, a pop up and a fly out now. As the lineup card flips over for Antonio Morales.
These outfielders always want to show off their arm, don't they?
Anytime you feel like they have a 1% chance.
That's why they love throwing home on those singles, in the outfield, the runner on second. Pretty unlikely, but you do it because to show off the arm.
If you were a center fielder, would you try to show off your arm like that? Depends what kind of arm you had.
I was an outfielder in high school, and I had a noodle arm. I couldn't even get a guy to second standing like 10 feet away in the outfield.
The first pitch is a fastball on the inner part of the plate, called strike to Antonio Morales. Morales didn't offer. Runner on first base with 2 outs and the 4-run deficit for the Doors. 0-1, beautiful breaking ball, called strike on the outside part of the plate.
I've been better off just throwing water bottles to my teammates on the bench.
Were you a starter on that high school team?
That's funny.
An 0-2 count. I guess the laughter says it all. Morales 0 for 2 with the ground out and a strikeout. And he's down on 3 pitches. Fastball tipped into the mitt of Briggs behind the plate. So Tommy goes fastball, breaking ball, fastball to sit Morales down. Works around a leadoff walk from Ben Royo. We are halfway home at McKeon Park. Commodores trail by 4. 5-1, Hyannis lead. And it's Andrew Delapiana, noodle arm center fielder. He'll have the play-by-play when we come back. Doors on the radio on Cape League TV.
Authentic Cape Cod dining is right down the road at Jim's Clam Shack. Open seasonally for over 50 years, Jim's Clam Shack features oceanfront views with all of the lobster, shrimp, burgers, and clams you could ask for. Stop by Jim's Clam Shack, located at 227 Quinton Avenue right here in Falmouth, to hit your next meal out of the park. That's Jim's Clam Shack at 227 Quinton Avenue, Falmouth.
I'm David McCann, a catcher from Virginia Tech, and you're listening to Commodores Baseball on Cape League TV.
Bottom 5 here from McKeon Park. Harborhawks in front of the Commodores 5-1. Third arm of the night is on for Falmouth. It's the left-hander from Wake Forest, Matthew Dallas, who was sensational in his first appearance on the Cape. Came in relief on Sunday, went 4 scoreless innings, saw 12 hitter spin, retired all 12. Seems like the guy right now to get Falmouth back in.
Yeah, he was outstanding. You can tell this is not a game that Commodores want to punt, putting one of their better left-handed arms in the bullpen in this game with Matthew Dallas. Hope you can start to settle in a little bit. Thanks Zach Johnston for getting out of that bases loaded jam. Got himself with a jam, but got out of it and really did all he needed. Got out of a jam in the third inning too, coming in relief from Matt Saucer. So overall, really good day for Johnston.
Lefty Gabe Kamiko starts it off for Hyannis as the fog creeping in just a little bit more.
Yeah.
The outfield becoming a little bit tougher to see. You can see Chris Newstrom kind of just putting his arms out. Assuming that's one of those motions like, hey, what are we doing right now?
Yeah, this might get to a point where you could maybe see a game called. It's kind of funny. It helps that Falmouth's got the black uniforms, but with Chris Newstrom in center field, I can see the legs with the gray pants, but I can't really see the top half of them.
Also blends in with the black fence behind him as well.
That's true.
That first pitch to Kamiko is outside. 1-0 is a fastball right at the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike. Kamiko so far today 0 for 2, a fly out and a ground out. One, swing and a miss. Chasing a slider outside. Camacho, the rising junior from UC San Diego. Transfer from the University of the Pacific. Dallas is 1-2. Goes back to the fastball, way out. Dallas, a large frame, 6'5", 205 pounds. Spent his freshman season at the University of Tennessee before transferring to Winston-Salem. Is 2-2. Goes back to the slider. It's a called strike 3 on the outer third. Picking up right where he left off against the Red Sox. 1 up, 1 down. You start the bottom of the 5th.
That was a beautiful slider, and that's what Matthew does. A lot of strikeouts in that game too. A couple of strikeouts looking against that Red Sox team.
Matthew Dallas also rocks that right neon glove as well as his on his right hand. More so teal. First pitch to Ray Velasquez is a breaking ball, and it's in there for a called strike.
Yeah, we've established I might not be the best person to ask on those color differences.
Maybe me either. It's more teal like Coastal Carolina's color. 0-1. Fastball way inside. Vasquez has to jolt out of the way.
But at least we could say it is neither or none of the Tennessee, Wake Forest, or Falmouth Commodores colors.
Velasquez, the rising senior from Austin P. The 1-1. Back to the breaking ball in the other batter's box. 2 balls, 1 strike. Velasquez does have an RBI in this one. He's got 4 doubles so far this season, tied for first in the league. 2-1. Fastball right down the heart of the plate for a called strike. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 1 gone in the bottom of the 5th. Hyannis in front of Falmouth 5-1. Meeting number 2 of the season between these two teams. Harborhawks took game 1 5-2 back on Tuesday. 2-2. Fastball, swing and a miss. Had him twisted up like a pretzel. 2 strikeouts so far for Matthew Dallas on the first 2 hitters he's faced.
Is it on the same pitch too? With the righties and lefties, it shows you can throw it to both. It's such a big thing too. But he's got a fastball that he can blow by you as well. To have those change of speed makes him so efficient, so effective.
Lefty on lefty with Charlie Bates, the rising sophomore from Stanford. First offering. Goes back to that slider you just mentioned, and it's perfectly in there.
Well, it's an especially hard pitch for a lefty to see, and that's what you see here with Charlie Bates at the plate. And Camacho to lead things off.
Back to that breaking ball, dips below the knees. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bates, as we just mentioned, a rising sophomore at Stanford. Grew up in Palo Alto. It's funny, his grandfather played football at Cal, but he was born at a Stanford hospital and grew up a Stanford fan his whole life. 1-1 is in there for a strike, dropped by Harrison, but called either way from home plate umpire Joe Gravano.
You think the band's ever on the field in any of his baseball games?
I don't think so. The band is on the field. The band's on the field.
That's it. Well, anytime I think of Cal Stanford, that's
of
always
course.
the first thing I think.
1-2, wave and a miss. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night for Matthew Dallas in the 5th. He sees 3 Hawks and sits all 3 of them down. 5-1 Hyannis as we go to the 6th from McKeon Park. We'll be right back after these messages on Cape League TV. At home plate between the 3 umpires of Jeff Merzel, Jack Bridgda, and Joe Gravana. They called the infield, I should say all the field players in. Now they're going to have a meeting between both of these managers at home plate. As now we welcome in the 3rd member of our crew, Ryan Martin. A couple of these last year, more so in Chatham, is known for that 5th, 6th inning fog delay, but we have played 5 innings in this one, so technically they could call this right here and we'd have a final.
Yeah, Andrew, you're exactly right. This would be a complete game considering after it's 5 innings through. It's Mitch Carricker, the 2nd-year field manager with Hyannis, and 1st-year manager Jared Saltzamakia. They're having a word specifically with first base umpire, that being, again, Jake Brichta. Both managers will go back to their dugouts. We'll await the call. Looks like Brichta's going to have a quick word as well with the official score here. Let's get a look. So we're going to wait 30 minutes. There's going to be a 30-minute delay in this game, Andrew. You just heard Brichta come have a word now over the public address here at McKeon Park. This is going to be a 30-minute delay to see if the fog settles in. It should be one to wait on here as we'll see if it's just passing or it's here to stay from Hyannis.
So we have entered a fog delay. You just heard from Ryan. 30 minutes starting from this point on at 7:46. Point we are in the ball game. Top 6, Harbor Hawks in front 5-1 over the Commodores. The action, we'll take one as well, and we'll come back to you when we have more information about potentially when this game will be resumed here on Cape League TV.
be at the the All-Star game for us. But I just think it'll be a cool
Welcome back into McKeon Park here in Hyannis. We are currently in a fog delay in the top of the 6th inning as Hyannis leads Falmouth 5-1. Dave Papillo here, joined by Brendan Driscoll, a very special guest. Brendan, thanks for joining us here in a little bit of our intermission show, I guess you could call it.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here. You know, it's always difficult getting a fog delay, but I'm happy I can be here and talk to you, Dan.
So you are the head analytics intern here for the Falmouth Commodores, and you actually run a pretty popular X account these days, Doors Analytics. Be sure to give it a follow. Why don't you tell everybody kind of what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's at Doors Analytics. Everyone listening, make sure to go follow that. We started that at the beginning of this season. It's been really getting popular. But you know, we make a bunch of different posts every day. We try to post a few times each day, whether it's about introducing players, which is what we really did a lot before the season, introducing all of our players and some of their cool advanced stats that they have. Now as we've getting into the heart of the season, we've been doing like kind of recaps of home runs, pitch metrics each day. We do leaderboards every week for exit velocities, pitch velocity, and then quality at bats. So there's a lot of cool information, a lot of information that really isn't available to the public. And it's really a good resource to have if you're looking to get into Cape League baseball and college baseball.
Yeah, you kind of segued me into my next question here, Brendan. Looking at, you know, a lot of the average person might not know what these advanced analytics actually mean. So what are you actually like talking about when you mean that?
Right. Well, baseball analytics is really cool because, you know, analytics in other sports like football, for instance, it's really like there's 22 guys in the field. But in baseball, it's really just the pitcher and the hitter. So analytics is just describing really what happened in the at-bat, like, because for instance all singles and all doubles, those aren't, you know, created equally. A single could be hit 110 miles per hour, or it could be a infield single that was hit like 50 miles an hour, who knows. So it's really just providing a lot of description to our coaches and players, and trying to translate that information that we get to them in more of a baseball sense instead of just a number sense.
It's very interesting, and it's very interesting in the fact that it seems like we're in a new world when it comes to analytics. So much information is readily accessible at everybody's fingertips, whether it's through technology and computers and stuff like that, or even stuff like TrackMan that we have. Would you say, in your opinion, I think you'd probably be a little biased, do you think baseball is in a better place with analytics, or do you think there's too many numbers in baseball a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm definitely biased. I think it's in a great place. I know it might sound bad with me saying this as an analytics intern, but there are some times where it can be like, there can be like a little bit too much information being given to a player. Like for instance, with our scouting reports, we like to keep it on the more simple side. Obviously, there's good analytics on there, good descriptions, but also it's like a hitter doesn't really need to know every single thing about a pitcher, like their you know, their xWOB or their xERA and their Sierra, different ERA descriptive stats. Just like as long as the hitter knows what the pitcher's throwing, you know, his arm slot, how is the pitcher trying to get you out, that sort of thing. I think that's a good spot for a hitter to have. They'll be put in a good spot in there at bat. So to summarize, I'd say it's in a great spot, but it's also important to keep in mind like what analytics and how much of an analytics you are using.
I think that's very fair. Could you give the audience an example of how you would kind of assess a player in terms of their analytics?
That requires a very long answer. So let's just say
okay. We've got time. We're in this fog delay.
That's a good point. So Ken Schmidt was just over here. He's walking back now. So for instance, with Kent, obviously, first week of the season was a slow start for him. So we were looking at, okay, why is that? Well, his ground ball rate was very, very high. So that was one of the issues with him. You know, he was making, you know, he's been making decent contact when it's in the air. He's not really swing and missing that much, especially this past week. He barely swing and missed at all. So it's just like, it's obviously, and that's one of the cool things I love about analytics too, actually, not to go off on a tangent here, but it's like every player is different. Like every player, most players have one thing that they struggle with. Some have two, some have three. It's just like trying to like diagnose what a problem is. That's what I love about analytics. But so Ken Schmidt, again, he was lots of ground balls his first week. His second week, you know, he's been getting a lot more balls in the air. He's had some bad luck. He just hit a home run earlier today.
Yes, he did.
Which is really, really cool to see. But usually the approach I'd like to take with the analytics, everyone does it differently. It's like, okay, at least from our player standpoint, what's the problem here? How can this player get better? in an opposing team standpoint, it's kind of both. Like, okay, what is this guy doing really good, and also like what's his weakness?
Yes, I think that's very fascinating, and it's one of those things that the average baseball fan, you watch a game and you see these analytics and stuff, you hear people talk about them, you hear about ground ball percentage and stuff like that, but you never really see it in practice. That's why we bring in an expert like you, and if you want to have more of this information at your fingertips, be sure to follow Doors Analytics on Twitter, because Brendan is bringing this content kind of to the mainstream so that everybody can see it. Brendan, thank you so much for joining us here on the broadcast as we still await this fog delay. Still 5-1 Hyannis here in the top of the 6th. Still at a fog delay as we wait for more information here from McKeon Park. Stick around and we'll give you more information as it comes here on Cape League TV.
Welcome back to McKeon Park. We have got a final ruling on the fog delay. This game has been called after 5 innings. And because we have played 5 innings, this one technically as a final in the NCAA, Ben, in certain conferences you do need to play 7, but here in the Cape Cod you only need to play 5. So Hyannis takes this one 5-1 after 5 innings of play.
Yeah, Major League rules. I mean, you're playing so many games in a season, you don't have much time to play the other end of suspended games. So that's the ruling. And another one where, I never know what Falmouth is going to do in the last 4 innings, but I will say it wasn't like this was a 3-2 deficit right now, that it felt like Falmouth was right there. Obviously, not saying a 4-run comeback is insurmountable, but that bottom of the 3rd inning for Hyannis did everything they needed it to do, and obviously unfortunate circumstances, but the bottom line is Falmouth didn't do enough in the first 5.
Really got to Matt Saucer in that second frame as all 5 runs for the Harborhawks come in that 2nd inning as they pick up the victory 5-1 again after 5 innings following a 30-minute fog delay. Our next broadcast for Falmouth baseball comes tomorrow night. We'll be back at home at Gulf Fuller Field as the Commodores welcome in the Anglers for Game 2 of that season series. Falmouth took Game 1 on opening night against Chatham. Our broadcast goes live at 5:40. Pre-game show gets you going at 5:50 on opening the door with first pitch set for 6 o'clock. We'll talk to you then as it's a